our 5 favorite frozen foods.
On a plant-based diet.
I actually got that right the first time. Anyway, so frozen food actually is really, really convenient, but gets a bad rap a lot of the time.
And that's simply not true because, particularly when it comes to vegetables, the way vegetables are frozen is flash frozen. And that means they instantly go from just your happy veg to frozen.
They're also picked at the peak of ripeness, which means they're as good as they're ever going to be. And then like within minutes or hours are frozen. So that sure beats picking something, letting it ripen on the shelf or in the truck or in your house over days or weeks or sometimes even months before it gets to your store. Yeah, I'll take frozen over that any day. The nutrients are actually locked in by the freezing process most of the time.
Right.
Not everything is better frozen, but there are some.
The one adjustment you'd want to keep in mind is cooking time, as the freezing process kind of, in a weird way, cooks them. It's the wrong terminology.
Well, they're sort of blanched and then frozen sometimes.
But it breaks down the cell walls,
Yeah.
which is part of the cooking process of vegetables. So you don't want to use the same cooking time of a frozen vegetable as you would a fresh vegetable.
Right.
Lots of times, and we'll mention it when we go through our list, we just toss them right in frozen and don't even worry about it.
Yeah. But let's get to the list, shall we? We have 5 on this list, and number 5 is tofu. Now, you're probably going, what? Why would you eat frozen tofu? We don't eat it frozen. We defrost it first, like you're supposed to. But the advantage to freezing tofu is, A, it lasts longer. That way it doesn't spoil. Plus, it also does something really interesting to the texture. It kind of firms it up, makes it a little more chew, a little meatier, a little more similar to some of the things that you might have eaten in the before times if you weren't always a plant-based eater. So it improves the texture and lets it be more, I don't want to say shelf stable, but it makes it last a lot longer. So for that, it's great. The con to tofu being frozen is you have to wait for it to defrost, and that can sometimes take quite a while. The way we defrost is I usually just put it in a pot of water, like a bowl of water, or let it sit out on the counter in a bowl for 6 to 8 hours because it takes a long time. And the reason why it sits in a bowl is because it kind of sweats. It just accrues condensation like crazy. But in a pot of water or a bowl of water, just regular plain old tap water, it'll actually defrost a lot more quickly.
That brings us to number 4, which is greens. And I just put greens as a blanket statement because this includes mustard greens, spinach, kale, anything you can think of. We actually grow our own greens in most of the cases, particularly mustard greens. I am really good at growing mustard greens.
She's the mustard green queen.
They're like huge.
Yeah.
So what we do is I just harvest them. We do a little light blanch on them, chop them up and individually package them and toss them in the freezer. They last so well that way.
A year
and
or more.
Because I'm a gardener, I know that my mustard green season is only in the wintertime. So I grow a bunch of them because I know I can freeze them and they'll last me throughout the year.
Right. The biggest advantages are no spoilage, and you can use them however you want. Now, depending on how you package them for freezing can make the difference between how useful they are. If you do one big bag with all of it in there, you're going to have a block of ice frozen mustard greens or whatever greens by the time you go to use it. And that makes it difficult. You got to get a nice chipper and
think
chop
about
off a
the
chunk.
brick spinach that you can get at the supermarket.
Exactly.
You're not going to divide that easily.
Right.
Whereas if you dry them and freeze them on a tray and then bag them, you'll be able to dish out a little bit at a time.
Or what we've done is just smaller portions, like 4 ounces, weigh out 4 ounces of it, after it's been blanched and put them into bags. It's a little more trouble packaging it up, but you have all these little bags, and 4 ounces is approximately the amount that you might use for like a half a serving. So that way, if you need more, you just use 2 bags, that kind of thing. We've done that a lot. Number 3 is green beans.
I have a love-hate relationship with green beans because Brian always wants to buy fresh green beans.
I love green beans.
And then they just get all slimy in the refrigerator.
And you got to snip off the ends, and you got to cut them to bite size. They're kind of a pain to work with when they're fresh. But if you get the pre-cut green beans, it's awesome because they did all the work for you. And then they froze them. And here's the thing. When you throw that into a soup or a stew or any of the different places that you might use them, I don't think we've ever actually just microwaved them and put them on a plate, though. I don't think we don't really eat green beans that way. No. We usually use them in something. I have not noticed one bit of difference except for one thing. I don't have to worry about them coming out raw and being nasty because fresh cut green beans, if you don't steam them first or boil them first or something, they take forever to cook. Whereas the cut green beans, just drop them right in. Put them in a soup, put them in anything, and it just works. And it satisfies my need for green beans.
Number 2 is peas. I love peas. They're like one of my favorite things. This is apparently something I inherited from my mom.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, we love the ease of access of frozen peas because the way they are packaged and frozen, you can just sprinkle however many you need.
Yep.
We've even used them as toppings on salad.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to cook them. If you have a steam bag, you can steam them for just a little bit, or you just let them thaw out and just put them right on top of your salad.
Yeah, they don't even have to be cooked. That's the beautiful thing. They're already blanched, actually.
You also have access to fresh peas year round. Now, again, the gardener in me is screaming and wanting to tell you, if you've never tasted fresh from the garden peas, you are missing out because they're just something special. But to be able to have peas all year round is fantastic. Again, no defrosting. They're little. They just
just
throw
dump
'em
and
in
go.
whatever you want. Yep.
We actually had not an argument, but a bit of a discussion about number 2 versus number 1.
All right.
I love peas as well, but the number 1 is one of my favorite things to add to almost everything. And sometimes I get side eye when I want to add it to things, but it is frozen corn. Much like frozen peas, almost the same use case. It lasts longer. You can get really, really high quality sweet corn. They even have baby corn. There's all kinds of frozen corn now, but it makes it last longer. You can portion it out, so you don't have to worry about using the whole quantity that you purchase. Like we buy big bags, and I just dole out like half a cup or a cup at a time as I need it for both peas and corn. I'm putting them in together because they kind of work for a lot of things. But to me, it's no different to use frozen corn as it is to shuck fresh corn to try to use it in a soup or something like that. Plus, so much less work.
Oh my gosh.
So much less work.
If you've never had the joy of trying to dekernel a cob of corn,
After peeling it and getting all the silk off, and
it's such a mess.
just buy frozen corn. It works great. Now, if you want corn on the cob, obviously that's not going to work. I mean, you could try gluing the it doesn't work. So corn is my number 1. It's probably her number 1 for a tie for peas, but peas might edge it out.
It's all right.
But that's our top 5. But as always, we do have some bonus material.
And our favorite frozen blend, if you will, is just the mixed veg blend. That's corn, peas,
carrots,
and lima beans, right?
Actually, it's corn, peas, carrots, lima beans, and green beans
Yep.
a lot of the time. We just get like the generic one from Costco or from Publix or from whatever grocery store you can get it from. And we buy big bags of it. It's wonderful for the same reasons as most of these other things.
Yeah.
It doesn't spoil. You can just take what you need at a time, throw it into something. I can make a fried rice dish if I have cooked rice already.
Rice and those.
In minutes
Done.
with that. You just throw it right in and it's wonderful. So that's our honorable mention for the favorite frozen foods. If there's a favorite frozen food that you like that we didn't put on our list, let us know in the comments below. It might not be that we don't like it. It's probably that it was number 6 or number 7 or number 8 on our list. These were just the 5 things that end up in our recipes most often. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bistro.